We're going to do this again in November. The reason why I'm asking, not just for some shameless plug or for applause, I really want to know because it's hard for us to gauge. It's just we wanted to have an opportunity to give you a diverse group of people, bringing a wealth of information. And our next speaker is Tanya Corder. She's a detective with the Scottsdale Police Department. I've gotten to know her, and she's just a terrific person. And for a person that's been assigned to the Crimes Against Children's Bureau of any police agency, and to have such a positive attitude towards life really is amazing to begin with, because she deals with the dregs of humanity on a daily basis. If your children are in trouble, you should sleep at least a little better knowing that there are people like Tanya out there making sure and standing in the gap between those predators and your children or grandchildren. She's got a wealth of information of what you can do to protect yourself, your children, and your grandchildren. So please give a warm welcome to Detective Tanya Corder.
Thank you. This isn't working.
I think it's on.
Thank you. Is it working?
Try it again. There it is.
Test,
You're
test.
on.
Hi, good evening. Again, my name is Detective Tanya Corder, and I've been with Scottsdale Police Department for 20 years. And I'll tell you what, the last 11 years of this career have been probably the hardest in my life because I'm dealing with our children being sexually exploited. The internet is the best playground yet invented for bad people. Think about when we were growing up, for most of us anyways, I'm in my 40s. You would take your kids to the park, and if there was a creepy van going by your children or looking at kids or people walking around the park checking kids out, what would you do? You would get a good description, maybe get the license plate, and you would call the police and you would say, hey, there's a creepy van going around the park. Today's so different. Today it's changed, right? Because these people are in their homes and they're reaching out to your children. And they're making contact with them and they're finding out their likes and their dislikes and they're doing what we call grooming. So I'm hoping in the 14 minutes that I have left with you that I can give you some insight as to what we deal with as investigators and help you protect your children. So I just want to tell you about a case that I just did recently, and it was a boy. His name is Mike, and Mike is a 15-year-old boy. He's at home, he's on Facebook, and he looks and he's got a friend request, and it's a smoking hot pretty girl, and she's an adult, and she's a college student. How many of you guys would click like that and say, absolutely, let's be friends? You're shaking your head, no. Okay. So anyways, this boy, Mike, meets this girl, and her name is Lily. She says she's 19, and she's a college student. So they begin fast-paced, instant messaging back and forth. And before you know it, Lily is going, geez, I really like you. I think you're hot. I think you're sexy. I think we should be boyfriend and girlfriend. Well, Mike is like, well, geez, you live in London. She's like, oh, I come out to Scottsdale all the time. It's not going to be an issue. He's like, okay, let's be boyfriend, girlfriend. So now Lily's saying, you know, I really want to see you. I want to see videos of you. I want to see some sexy videos of you. Why don't you take off your clothes and do some sexy videos for me? Okay, how long do you think it took Mike to make a couple videos? Nanosecond, right? Okay, so Mike makes a couple videos. He sends them to Lily. And Lily's like, wow, this is fantastic. I think you are so hot. I really like you. We're boyfriend, girlfriend. So now Lily says, you know, I got a friend, Juan. Juan lives in Scottsdale. I really want you to be friends with him. He goes, sure, absolutely. We could be friends. So Juan starts Facebook messaging my victim, Mike. And before you know it, they're talking for a couple of days. So then Lily comes back, and Lily says, you know what, I got a fantasy. And my fantasy is you and Juan have a sexual relationship together and videotape that incident. And Mike was like, whoa, 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 no, that's not how I roll. It's not going to happen. She goes, please, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, you love me, don't you? He's like, I'm not going to do it. It's just not, no. She goes, really? Because if you don't, I'm going to take those videos that you sent me, and I'm going to send them to everybody on your Facebook friends. You guys, you got to wrap your head around this. This is a 15-year-old boy who is being extorted. How do you go to your mom and dad? Dad, you're not going to believe what I did today. And now I've got this lady, she's extorting. How do you go to your parents and say, this is what's happening to me? This is what's happening, folks. The sextortion is a really big thing right now. And it's happening to a lot of children. I have several cases on my desk right now where it's almost identical to this situation. So subsequently, this boy had a good relationship with the school resource officer, thank goodness. He went into his office and he said, I've got to do this by tomorrow or she's going to send these videos out. And we got involved and we did emergency subpoenas, some search warrants. Who do you think the suspect was? It was Juan, an adult male who was trying to have sex with a minor child. When I got the Facebook search warrant results, this guy had done it to 3 other boys. So the reason why I tell you this story is that this stuff is out there and it happens quickly. And so we're going to talk about a couple things on how to keep your kids safe and stuff that you could do a little bit better as parents. Okay, let's talk about stranger danger. What did you teach your kids at the age of 2? Don't talk to people you don't know, right? Don't talk to strangers. There is a big, big disconnect with our children today. There is a huge disconnect. Kids will be friends with other kids thinking that they're kids and have no idea who they're talking to. You really have to hit it home with your children. 98% of my cases are coming from our kids talking to people that they don't know. You know, go on to your child's Instagram if you haven't done so, or go on to their Facebook. If they've got 2,500 friends, okay, I can count 5 on my finger, right, of my friends, real friends. If they have 2,500 friends, there's a problem because they don't know those people. I am begging you as an investigator and as a mom, sit down on their social media. Look at who they're talking to. Find out who these friends are. And if they don't know them in person, physically, it can't be Johnny's cousin that they've never met. It's got to be somebody that they know physically in person. That's who they should be friends with. Okay, talk about anonymity and sexting. When your child develops a social media, like a Facebook or an Instagram or, you know, the social media profile pics, don't let them use their face as the profile. And I'm saying this because that face picture becomes public to everybody, right? Even if you set up the account as public or private, it still shows that profile picture. Don't let them use their true name. And why would you think I would ask you that? Because they're going to make mistakes, right? Kids are going to make mistakes. I know everybody, a lot of people have that, not my kid. My kid's a good kid and he's never going to make mistakes. They will. And someday your kids are going to try to get a job. They're going to apply for a grant or a scholarship. And I'll tell you what, they're going to data mine your child. So don't let your child use their true name for their profile. Let's talk about sexting. Everybody know what sexting is, right? We hear about it in the news. Sexting is rampant. When I go and I teach child presentations, the kids tell me it's the norm. It's a form of flirting. You know, a lot of people say, well, my kid would never do that. I have a twin sister, and she's like, oh, Tanya. She's like, Olivia's chubby. She doesn't even want to wear a bathing suit. I have kids as young as 6 years old that are sexting. You got to have a talk with your children about it. It's real, it's out there, and a lot of kids are doing it. Not your kids, other kids. Okay, and another thing I bring this up is because just like that sextortion case that we talked about in the very beginning, the kids that are sexting, these photos end up getting out, and like I have a 12-year-old girl, I have a case right now where she took naked photos, sent them out to a few people in her school. Those photos somehow ended up in Illinois, and she's being extorted by a guy in Illinois saying, send me more naked photos or I'm going to blast your naked photos on my Snap story. Another thing with these applications, how many of you guys have kids and they're using these applications like crazy, right? Let me tell you a scary thing about applications, and this is real. As an investigator, if your child gets onto one of these applications, such as Whisper, if you don't know what it is, it's an app where it encourages your kids to tell their deepest, darkest secrets on a platform. It's like a pedophile playground, right? But this platform is tell your deepest, darkest secrets. If your kid gets victimized on Whisper, Do you know what they retain? Absolutely nothing. They don't retain IP login dates and times. They don't retain any content. So if something happens to your child via one of these applications, and I try to get evidence via a search warrant to Whisper, they just come back and say, we don't retain that content. If I say, okay, I need to try to figure out where my suspect is, I need IP login dates and times, they're like, well, we don't do that either. We'll give you some GPS coordinates. That's not good, people. That's not good. A lot of these kids are downloading these applications. How about the applications in Canada, like Kik? A lot of kids are using Kik today. Try serving a search warrant to Canada and see if they're going to oblige me. They're not. They're going to say, we don't even recognize your paperwork. We're in another country. So it's stuff that we don't think about when our kids are downloading apps, but it's stuff that we should be thinking about. Okay, in regards to a contract, have some sort of a family contract that you have posted, whether it be on the fridge. Sit down with your child and talk about your expectations. The reason why I say this is, I'll give you an example. I was doing a presentation for, it was a mother and daughters group, and I told the parents, have something in a contract where it gives your kid a safe way to come say, you're not going to believe what I did. I sent these naked photos. They're going viral through the school. Because we as parents need to know that, right? We need to try to get that image shut down as quickly as we can before it ends up on the internet. So something in that contract has to say, no matter what, you can come to me. You may have consequences later. You may lose your, stuff for the rest of your life. Don't say that. But there may be consequences later, but it is safe for you to come to me if you're in a situation such as that boy Matt that I was just telling you about. Thank goodness Matt told the SRO. Those other two boys, they were victimized because they didn't tell anybody. So I don't know what the wording is, but have something in there that gives your kid a safe, it could be your aunt, it could be their uncle, it could be somebody. For me, like I would have my son tell my sister so I could diffuse, calm down, not blow a gasket, right? But anyways, in this situation, I had a mother-daughter group, and I just got done saying this to the parents. Have this contract, have a safe place for these kids to go and divulge that they did something wrong. So this young lady comes up to me and she goes, Detective Corder. She goes, I'm supposed to meet a 25-year-old at the mall today. I met him online, and I want to tell my mom about it. And I just got done telling the parents, don't blow a gasket. So we walk up to the mom together, and the daughter says, Mom, I know you're going to be angry. I met a guy online. I was supposed to meet him at the mall. What do you think the mom did? Through the roof. Yeah, it didn't work out well. But I want you to think about this. I already consider that child high risk. Is that mom going to get a second chance? No, probably not. So just play these scenarios in your head, because take those blinders off about not my kid, because if it does happen to you, you have to think about, how am I going to deal with it? Okay, use parental controls. There's many of them out there, stuff that you may not think about, like setting your router to go to sleep at night. Like at 9 o'clock, that router shuts off so kids don't have access to being online. Nothing good happens after 9 o'clock with these kids and their cell phones, right? Okay, so there's so many routers out there that can be programmed to be shut off. Contact your service providers, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. They all have these super great programs where they give you features like locating your kids anytime, view phone activity. You could define restricted times, control data usage amounts, set age restrictions on the content that they look at. View all the apps installed, or you could set it up where they have to come to you and say, can I install this app? And it'll give you time to look at the app and say, is that acceptable for my child? View all the contacts. You could see who they're talking to, block calls and spam, and you could set geofences. Okay, key right here. And some people disagree, some people agree. Collect that device at night. All this stuff happens after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock when the parents go to bed. put the charging station in your bedroom. It's a twofold. It gives you an opportunity to go through your kid's phone and see what they've been up to, right? No passwords on the phone, agree, yeah, okay. But it gives you an opportunity to look at their apps and to look at that calculator that you thought was a calculator, and you were just gonna look at your bills and you discover that it's a hidden app with a bunch of stuff inside of it. But it's your time to let your kids take that night to get a good night's rest in your ability to go through their phone and see what they're up to. Use the app reviews too. Like if some of these apps out there, one that I would love to just tell you about is Omegle. If you guys aren't familiar with Omegle, it's O-M-E-G-L-E. These kids hear about this app at school and they download it, they look at it, they do sleepovers and look at it. It is horrible. It's a really bad app. But use these review sites to see if it would work out for you. These resources you can't really see very well, and I apologize about that, but the best one out there is called netsmarts.org. It's netsmartz.org, and they are incredible. They have videos that are age appropriate for you and your kid to sit down and watch and maybe open up some dialogue about stuff that you can talk about in regards to keeping them safe. They have games that the kids can play to keep them safe online. And I'm out of time. I really thank you for having me this evening, and I'll be here later on this evening if you have further questions. Thank you.